Here, my old friend, J.P. Peterson.
What's up, bro?
Man, I haven't seen you 15, 16 years.
Yeah, at least 15.
Yeah,
at
some
least
serious
15 years,
time.
bro. Yeah.
Sergeant Arms for the Hell's Angel.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, very. Yeah, was my bad. Very serious position.
Yeah.
But you were always really good to me. You know, we boxed together. We got along great. I can tell you were a man of honor. I was never worried hanging out with you, even when like there was all the gangsters and bikers around.
Right.
I was never worried because I knew no one would test me if you were around, because I could look and see everyone looked at you as a man of respect. And you know how it is in those things. They're not going to test your friend when they respect you.
Not none of mine.
No, I know the code though. So since you went in prison though, I didn't hang out with those dudes because so I knew I'm not gonna get tested by dudes and have to get fucked up by Hell's Angels because I can let people punk me.
Right.
So, but you were like. But you were a guy of high status. When I went to a show, I was shocked. There was thousands of bikers came, not just Hell's Angels, like all the different. Like I don't know how the boxing. We'll get into, but I don't know how the different works in the game. Like, oh wow, all these guys respect you. You know, you fought in the Playboy Mansion. My friend Chuck Liddell.
Yeah, he was a big reason why I got that fight. Yeah.
No, right? Because you were always such a likable guy. You know, we knew you were a gangster, but we always could tell you were a guy of honor. And I never asked any questions about gang stuff. I don't like to pry. I love everyone interview. Before we get into that, we were very careful what we ask you. Is it cool to ask things about the Hell's Angels,
and like I said before we started and talking, just so people know that I got no problem. The stuff we're going to talk about is cases and my background that's already been done and served time on. Cases are over, and like I said, man, we'll go as far as we can go. And when I say that's about as far as we can go, we'll go.
We don't want to get
your
old associates in trouble or anything either, you know, because you're not a snitch. This is why you did 13 years.
Exactly.
Because you knew honor, you know. Like I said, you were always, even though I knew you were probably do some shady shit, I could tell you had honor. That's, you know, like. I usually wouldn't do it, but I remember you're like, hey, could you write a letter to the DA? But like, I actually don't think
that was
I actually don't think this guy deserves much time. And I never fucking write letters. My ass can't even write.
No, I know, bro.
Like,
and I appreciate you, bro. I never forgot that, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Bro. That was awesome, man.
I really didn't want you to time because I knew that you weren't a bad man. You just fallen into some shady shit. So how the fuck did you like first get involved in Hell's Angels or gang activity?
Well, I mean, growing up in the city, I was always kind of on the knucklehead side of things, I guess you could say. I grew up in the Sunset District, you know what I'm saying, and you know, I guess you could say there wasn't a lot of structure as far as like when I was a kid. I was kind of like allowed to just be at the park and do whatever. And the city was different back then. Kids actually went outside instead of sitting at home on social media. You know what I'm saying? So I started getting in trouble at a younger age, and you know, I had a little sister. I didn't have no brothers, but you know, I had some older bros in the neighborhood that I looked up to, and they were all kind of knuckleheads. So I guess you could say that's kind of what led me on my path of you know, being, I don't want to say being a criminal, but just always kind of getting into shit, getting into fights, and just kind of doing my own thing. I really didn't have many consequences because, you know, my mom was a single mom. I mean, I seen my dad.
But it's hard for a single mom. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
She's doing her best, but like trying to provide for a kid.
Exactly. So the consequences really didn't come until I actually started getting in trouble. And then, you know, by then it wasn't even consequences the way I was taking things. It was like, it was just part of the norm with the youngsters that I was growing up with. So I guess, you know, just to fast forward and not, you know, talk 3 hours about my childhood, you know, as I was growing up, I guess you could say I always kind of gravitated to groups that stuck together, I guess you could say. You know what I'm saying?
No, I was always like that, groups of honor, and thankfully I found fighting. If you had found boxing earlier, I bet you wouldn't have got in trouble, because my friends, most of them ended up dead in prison and stuff, but then once I found fighting, that switched me to the path to following those guys. Because you found boxing, but you were already too ingrained in it, you know?
Exactly.
You were already the fucking enforcer.
And now, like you say, exactly what you said, it's like now, looking back, thinking about how much I love everything I was looking for in life, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the this, the that. Bro, yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And we'll get to that, you know, eventually. But so, you know, I guess I kind of did my little juvenile stints, you know, all the normal stuff that all the knuckleheads in the Bay Area went through, log cabin, juvenile hall, stuff like that. And then eventually I graduated to the county jails and then San Quentin's, and then ended up in the holes. I ended up finally reaching, I guess you could say, college, which was Pelican Bay. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was, a joke that we always said. I made it to college, but it was the spot where they put. So they said they deemed the worst of the worst in California, and I ended up in the shoe up there for headbutting a cop and knocking a cop out in San Quentin. That's a whole nother story. But at the time, what I'm getting to is. I was kind of looking to be a part of something, and at that time,
like a family, brotherhood.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying?
A large family.
And when you're young, you always trying to prove yourself.
You go poor, probably too. You have a chip on your shoulder.
Exactly.
You don't have anything. That's kind of how I felt. It's like you want to prove something.
So, being that I was kind of growing up in an incarcerated type, mindset. In prison, it was the Aryan Brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? And although I never tipped up with the Aryan Brotherhood, it was something. It was something that I was striving for, I guess you could say, in the California system as a white boy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I always stayed active. I was doing what active youngsters do. You know what I'm saying? Always raising your hand to be the one to do the stupid shit that came around.
And that's when crazy shit needs to be done. If you go and do it, you start getting respected those dudes. Especially if you're a nobody, then all of a sudden you send a young guy to do a crazy shit, and this gang shit, they're like, oh, I like that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I got a little bit of respect at a very young age in the system. And I was making, I guess you could say I was making a name myself. Not now I could say I was making a name for myself in the wrong place. Yeah. But nonetheless, I was making a name for myself.
I haven't seen no eyes that you were respected by hard motherfuckers. I was just like, I didn't ask questions, but it was very apparently that you were a very respected man in that scene.
Right on. So then it was like, I didn't have like an end date in the system. I was coming home, and I actually ran into a friend of mine who I've known even, years before I talked to him about what we're going to discuss right now. But we were in the system, and he seen me kind of like striving in the wrong direction in there. And it's kind of funny because he's the one he was a Hell's Angel, and he kind of was like, what are you doing in here? You're going to end up spending the rest of your life trying to join a prison gang, which is exactly what I was.
You would get two slides, like, when they're in Brotherhood in prison.
Exactly. So for the most part, man, I understood what he was saying, but it's kind of funny because he was like, you need to come around the club because we're not going to try to keep, not that you won't end up in prison, but we're not trying to keep you in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, I kind of gave him my word that when I got home, because I had a motorcycle anyway, and I was into riding bikes. Although I wouldn't consider myself a biker, you know what I'm saying? Yes, I rode bikes and I loved, riding around the city and doing my thing. So when I came home, I gave him my word that I would go check out a couple of the fellas that I kind of knew a couple people, and I started hanging out. And it was kind of funny, man, because one thing I noticed very quickly, well, there's a couple things, is one, because this person that sent me this direction, being who he was
he a very connected guy?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's all about who gives you connection.
Exactly. So me coming around and being, I guess you could say, referred by
a you know what I'm saying? No, it makes a big difference. So I understand these systems. I wasn't understand like you were, but I still understand how these places work.
Yeah. So I was referred by somebody that had a lot of respect. And again, I think, you also know people's aura, or you know what I'm saying? You kind of know.
You're a very charismatic, good guy to be around.
Yeah, and anybody, I don't care what club or gang or what you think you are, at the end of the day, when you're standing next to somebody, you know who you're standing next to.
Also, I knew you were always kind of guy that were capable of violence, but I knew you wouldn't do it unless I would have to have done something extremely disrespectful. You're not a guy that's going to pop off to test me. I knew that. You have those crazy, they're usually not the hardest motherfuckers, though, the ones testing people.
Exactly. It's always the dudes that are pushing that line a little too hard are the ones that you might got to look into this.
They're
not that guy. They're not that guy, man. But yeah, so like I said, man, being who kind of brought me around the club, I was kind of absorbed, or should I say, taken a little differently.
Really quickly, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I came in with a little bit more respect than the average dude that was coming around. And
did that create some jealousy between some of the other guys? Or
well,
not really?
There was always
the younger guys, not the higher up guys. But
I wouldn't say that there was jealousy, but there was other dudes that were around that you could tell were being treated differently as a new person around.
This guy's getting treated better.
You know what I'm saying? So there was just a difference in who the person was. It really comes down to how you carry yourself. yourself, man.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
It's not just who you're recommending from.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's the, you know, it's like I wasn't new to the game, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just say criminal lifestyle, because the club ain't focused just on a criminal lifestyle, but there is that element, there is that type of personality. So I come from a level 4 prison, so it was kind of like, I'm not going to say it was a lower level of kind of environment, but it wasn't an environment.
It wasn't as crazy as violence, trying to be in the Aryan Brotherhood. Plus, like you said, you're trying to be like an enforcer for them to like get respect.
You know what I'm saying, bro? So yes, it was like, like I said, again, I'm not downsizing the club, but it was like in the prison system, you see violence every day. Yeah. So a fight here or there, someone getting lumped up, it was like, oh yeah, it's almost like you don't even care.
Because like for the most part, the Hells Angels aren't trying to cause tons of problems anymore. No. I mean, there's shootouts stuff we'll get in later, but it seems like they're not just out picking random violence. When I was around, I mean, I was with you, but it didn't really seem like there was ever any problems. A few times I stopped by the clubhouse and stuff. Yeah. It didn't feel like, it was like, oh, you're crazy going by there. It's like, nah, my boy JP's got me, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, and like I said, the one thing, when I came around the club, like I said, when my homeboy told me to go check it out and try to change my mind from what I was originally thinking of you know, going towards. You know, one thing I noticed right away, even as they kind of absorbed me and kind of took to me, is I was like, okay, cool, this is kind of like what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? It was, you could tell, even though I wasn't involved yet, but I was coming around with that thought process, it was a brotherhood, man. You seen bros and how the guys that were, I guess you could say, made members and stuff like that.
And they get a different level of respect. Like even fighting has the same hierarchy. The top guys, but you in boxing, and OGs get treated same thing in that world.
Absolutely, bro.
So you're that, and you got to realize there's a pecking order. Yeah. I'm sure you're smart enough to be aware of that, not stepping on the other guy's toes.
Exactly, man. So right away, you know, I kind of took to that, and it was almost the same thing I was looking for, like I said, and what I thought I was looking for in the prison system, but in the free world. You know what I'm saying?
Much better.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, I came around. I made my intentions known. I became a hang-around, and then eventually I became a prospect. And, you know, I did my normal prospecting just like anybody else, you know. Had some fun. You know, the funny thing is, man, is the prospecting, even after you make a member, you sit back and you think about how much fun you had. The prospecting is when you really get bonds with other people that are prospecting.
You're like kind of hanging out and stuff?
Well, I mean, because I mean, you're doing all the grunt work, man. You're outside watching the bikes. You know,
do whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And the people that you do it with, I mean, bro, there's nights and weekends.
The other grunts, and like I said, you have to do the fucking bitch work, basically. You have to earn your stripes.
Exactly. So the dudes that you do it with, you get so delirious being up for days. And I don't mean on drugs. I mean, dude, I didn't do drugs at the time. I'd done drugs when I was a kid, but I was clean from 20 years old on. So it wasn't like I was on drugs. I mean, I was staying up for 2-3 days sometimes sober on Starbucks.
I was on drugs, but not sober.
So when you're with other bros and you guys, you know, are losing sleep and you got to go to SoCal, you got to drive to NorCal, you're all over the place on these bikes all night. It's like you get it's, you know how like you laugh so much when you're delirious. It's that bond. You know what I'm saying?
No, there's bonds you can't get at certain places.
Exactly.
So I do understand. You fight and get it. And
exactly.
Like, well, just real quick back to jail. I was only in jail once for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Is what shocked me is how everyone was just so accepting to like what prison. I could tell a lot of these guys were institutionalized. They're talking about prison they're going back to. They're talking about the race wars, different places. Yeah. I was mostly all Mexican jail, but no one fucked with me. Yeah. They fucked like half the white guys there, which is weird. Yeah. Because I was ready to fight as soon as I got in there, but it's just how you carry yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And you know who's who when they walk in the door, bro.
Hey guys, Jake Schultz here. As you know, I have a free speech podcast. To keep that going, it's important to have sponsors and support them. If you want to support them and me, go to antelopehillpublishing.com and be sure to use the promo code FIGHTBACK. They have tons of different books that are hard to get. Today I recommend Opiate of the Masses. It's a full journalistic investigation into the opioid crisis in America. So again, to support the podcast, antelopehillpublishing.com and the promo code FIGHTBACK. As many of you know, I have many controversial guests, so that comes at a cost of being demonetized everywhere. So if you want to support the program, go to fightbackpodcast.com, and I have all kinds of merch on there, whether it's jiu-jitsu, fighting, political, and other accessories. And thanks for the support. Yeah, you ran that motherfucker in prison. Like I said, we'll get back to that in a few. Yeah. So at the Laughlin thing.
So back to the law enforcement aspect of it. So at the time, there was OMG guy. There's what they call him, the outlaw motorcycle gang expert, and his name was John Chacon.
That's like a law enforcement guy?
He was the guy who was the head of, I guess, the gang task force that had to do with motorcycle clubs. And he was also the main, I don't know their technical term, operation officer. What he was the guy that was in charge of their undercover cops that were actually actively in clubs, whether it was the dude Jay Dobbins in Arizona. They had a dude that they ended up flipping that was in my old club, dude named Mason Mike, who went from Arizona down south. They had a guy in the Vagos, and then the guy, I think the guy's name was William Queen, who was actually in the Mongols at the time. So what I'm getting at is Laughlin, in a sense, was the biggest present for them that they could possibly get. And the reason why is, I mean, what better place for them to not even have to argue for funding, more investigation money, whatever they need to do to harass motorcycle clubs, but to have it in a casino with the best video footage.
We'll get some footage, but I'll get some video.
And let it happen. Because look, I'm going to be real with you. And I'll let you all think about this. If anyone out there in the world walked into any casino, pick a casino, it don't matter. Walk in there with a friend, hoodies, hot ass day, flannels, and a duffel bag, and walk around the casino by yourselves and figure out how long is it going to take for security to walk up to you and say, excuse me, sir, is there a problem?
Not fucking long.
Not long at all, bro. So that being said,
and you guys all had duffel bags and shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Mongols, it
was obvious they were ready for war.
So when you go back and look at the court, like, because I was part of the court case down the road, I got tons of CDs from the court case, from all the cameras, and
so they were, all the videos.
I got to see everything, and there's one that I remember specifically because it just, exactly what I'm explaining right here, it showed me how much technology they had, not just the night it happened, but from the minute they pulled up, knowing that we were still there.
Technology is insane.
There was some old Mongol, and he was sitting on a bar stool or by a slot machine stool, and he was a real big fat guy with a beard, and there was a couple younger Mongols around him, and they were talking to him, and I don't know what he was doing, but he was showing them his rings.
Yeah.
And whatever camera was focused on that, they literally zoomed in to see what he was showing them. And I don't know if you've ever seen any motorcycle club rings, but they got like 35-year anniversary rings, 40. So this guy, one thing I remember was he had all his hands were covered in rings, but the video footage was so clear that you could literally see 35-year anniversary, and it had a Mongol head on the ring. So the point that I'm getting at is, that's how good their surveillance was.
They've probably seen guns and shit.
Bro, they seen everything.
They were watching you guys.
Knives,
they knew shit was about to pop off.
They seen girls that was with them, handing them. I mean, this is all on footage, bro. So it's not like
I'm in Vegas. These casinos, they can zoom in on everything.
Bro, they're trying to get people cheating on cards. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see a machete. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because that's what they were seeing. So they definitely allowed it to stage. They could have defused it at any. Bro, all they would have had to do was come down and say, "Hey, check it out. You guys got to go this way. You guys got to get the fuck."
That's it. You guys just couldn't do it out of pride, like you said.
Exactly.
We weren't
going
nowhere. Smart thing to do, but you couldn't have out of fucking respect. It would have given them like an upper hand.
They definitely let it happen. And when it did happen, man, it fucking blew up. You know what I'm saying? And people died. I got shot. There was a few normal citizens. I mean, I'll never forget. I don't even know who this guy is, but I'll never forget being in the hospital. They took me to I think it's called Bullhead City I think it's Bullhead City.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Right across the bridge there was a hospital that they took me to. And after the bullet literally fell out. There was a member, when I got shot, I hit the ground, and there was a member that cut my vest off of me, and he stuck his stomach because I was leaking. And I remember looking at my chest, and there was like a big glob, and I was like, oh, fuck, it's my heart. Yeah. But he wiped it, and it was weird because something rolled, and I was like, what the fuck was that? And it was the bullet, bro. It was the actual bullet.
That must have been like, holy shit, I'm not going to die.
And this is the kind of retard shit we were on. I was like, what's that? He's like, it's the bullet. I was like, save it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he literally saved it.
Go shoot a motherfucker.
Yeah, he saved it, put it in his change pocket, which is funny because later on during the case, in the evidence, they found it. They found it, and there was a picture of it. So that was, the cops got my bullet. But you know, when he wiped my chest, it rolled, and he stuck his thumb in to stop the bleeding, and he kept his thumb literally in my chest until everything was done, and they took me out of there in an ambulance. You know, they took me out the back. And it was crazy because when they took me out the back, I was still hearing shooting down by the river. So even though they had the inside of the casino laid down, there was people that was running in parking lots down by the river. You could hear people shooting. There was gunshots.
So a lot of it wasn't caught up. Who knows what else happened? Guys that maybe never went to the hospital, never went to the police.
Well, the funny thing is they put me in an ambulance, and when they put me in the ambulance, they slid me in. They jacked me up and slid me onto this side little shelf. You know, you could kind of, I guess you could fit two. I don't know if you could, I know there was two, me and one other guy, but you could fit one stretcher and then you roll in the second one. So I'm sitting there, and they didn't strap me down yet, but I'm sitting there, and they rolled another stretcher in, and I look over, and there was a dude with a towel like this, right? And I'm looking over, and his patches weren't red and white. It was a Mongol.
Oh my God, they rolled you guys in the same fucking ambulance?
Yeah, and they realized they made a mistake very quickly. So I'm sitting there, and again, I got shot here, so this arm was broken half. But I look over, and all I see was towels, but I'm trying to look, and I see the patches, and I see it's Mongol patches. So right away, I reach over and I grab the dude's towel, and he's fucking like this, and I'm trying to stick my fingers in his fucking neck.
They can't put a guy you're in war with in the same fucking ambulance.
And the guy was sitting there getting, you know, the fucking IV shit together. He turned around and he seen me trying to fucking stick my finger in this dude's throat, and he turns around and goes, "Hey, I don't think we're supposed to. These guys are supposed to be together." So at that point, two dudes jumped in. And they grabbed my arm, and that's when they put a strap on me. And,
so you guys still went in the same one?
Oh yeah, they still took us both together.
But they talking shit to each other?
No, I mean there was nothing to say. I was shot. He had a fucking stab in the neck. You know what I'm saying?
Were they just like stupid, or they thought you guys both Hell's Angels?
I don't think the ambulance.
Obviously, you guys are in the middle of a fucking war.
Yeah, well, I think everything was so crazy.
They didn't even know what's going on. They just grabbed it. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, we were being escorted out by. There was Metro. I guess that's what they call the Vegas cops, right? Metro. So there was Metro, the biker dudes with the yellow shirts and all. There was all kinds of CHPs. I guess there was Laughlin cops. There was tons of cops.
I just did barely follow the news. I remember this being a huge.
Yeah, it was insane.
So what kicked it off originally? I mean, obviously the tension, but what was the actual moment that kicked it off?
Well, it was really that, like, the night it kicked off. Like I said, man, it's shit. We were staying there for a couple days. We really didn't. We left during the day one day just to kind of be like, hey, look, man, this is the situation we're in. But we stayed there. We stayed at that casino on purpose. We were kind of stuck there, bro, because if we would have packed up and left, we would have looked like fat.
You know what I'm saying? Got punked by the Mongols.
Yeah. So what happened is. And again, man, I don't know if they picked a certain night to get a little bit more hostile with us or what, or if it was coming to that anyway. So we were staying at this one bar, you know, kind of chilling, and next thing you know, we're kind of being surrounded, you know what I'm saying? So there was few phone calls made. I made a phone call to another brother that you know, I let him know, hey, look, bro, this about to fucking blow up, man. So not all the phone calls got through. I know my phone call got through to somebody, and the person
people weren't using cell phones quite as much back then. This is early, right? You had cell phones, but it was the newer. People weren't constantly checking.
Yeah. Well, at the time there was, because you know there was members doing the wheelie contest at the Flamingo. So even though we were staying where we were at, there was members other places. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, and again, you see this in the news stuff and the court cases and stuff. There was a large pack of my old club that pulled up, and as soon as they pulled up, I walked up to my bro at the time, and he kind of flicked me a ball-peen hammer, and we just kind of like fucking took off. I mean, what really happened is there was a dude, and a lot of people think that he just provokingly kicked somebody, which that's not what happened. There was a drunk Mongol on one of the posts right there, and he looked at him and said, man, you got a problem with my brothers or something like that. And the Mongol literally reached into his cocktail, grabbed an ice cube, and went like that. That's what people don't see in the video footage. They don't see that part. But he took that and he flicked it at the dude, and the dude kicked him in the bottom of the chin, and then it just, everything broke out. You know what I'm saying? And
did it start with fists or it first?
As soon as it kicked off, I mean, it was seconds before guns started going. And I'll never forget, there was one dude, and I don't know why he picked me, but there was a dude that was shooting at me like, okay, so the bar was like this. I don't know if people could see what I'm explaining here. The bar was like this, and we ran that way. The slot machine aisles were this way. So when we ran this way, you know, there was people that I was hitting, and people were getting punched, and people were getting stabbed all over the place. There was bullets flying. Well, there was a dude that I seen literally shooting over the slot machines in my direction. And he was going that way, so there was one point where he was able to shoot straight at me, and I kind of ducked out of the way. So I remembered, one thing I remember is there was bottles on the bar behind me, and I remember glass kind of flying over me. So as the glass was flying over me, I kind of ducked on the aisle, and I'm like, you know, and he kept going that way. So eventually he ran and was gone around the other side. So when he ran by, I literally seen him run by, and at that point, I was closer to the bar than I was to the aisle of the slot machines, so I leaned back. I don't know, can that be seen in this? Okay, so I leaned back on the bar because the dude was still shooting in this direction, and I used my back to, like, because the aisle was right there, so I used my back to lunge into the slot machine aisle to get away. And as soon as I did that, he had literally reached around where he was, and it broke, it shot me in the arm, it broke my arm in half and came out my chest. And it's funny because you can see it blew the ink out of my tattoo.
So that's a different shot than
and instead of fixing the tattoo, I put a bullet hole where the tattoo was. You want to show the camera?
That's all right. We'll zoom in right there.
So I instead of fixing my tattoo, I tattooed a bullet hole there. But anyway.
Is the mic, make sure the mic's still on?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, well, shit's fucking popping off there.
Yeah, I'm having a technical difficulty.
Oh,
but yeah, so then, you know, at that point, man, I hit the ground. There was people, you know, there was, you know, sadly, there was brothers that was in the club that got shot and didn't make it. You know, there was dudes on both sides that didn't make it home. And that's just the downfall of situations like that, man. But I will say this, man, and to this day, even though I'm not involved in the club anymore, I will say this, man, it could have been prevented, bro. I mean, again, like I said, when we got into this role, it's like, you know, go to any casino, bro. Go to any casino and walk around pretending you're shady. You know what I'm saying?
Bikers everywhere clearly carrying guns. It was obviously
knowing, bro, you gonna tell me the cops there didn't know that two rival so-called motorcycle clubs were in the same room
for a while? Like, I knew that rivalry was going on.
You know, so it was
Hells Angels getting picked off occasionally.
Yeah, it was definitely allowed to happen. And you know, when you sit back and just think of it, you know, from a law enforcement point of view, I mean, to them, they got the world's biggest Christmas present, bro, because now, when they're looking for funding to investigate this club or that club, all they got to do is be like, hey, look at what happened here.
We need more money. Yeah, look at these crazy gang wars.
So that helped them in that sense. You know what I'm saying? You know, as far as, you know, the club went and my situation, again, like I said, they put me in the wrong ambulance. There was a citizen that had got shot, and that's what I was saying is I was in the hospital. And I'll never forget, I don't know who the dude, to this day, I don't know who the dude is. I know there's people that know the guy, but I don't know him, but he got shot in the ass. And all I remember was being in the emergency room, and they had him in the same room. You know, they got curtains in different slots.
Yeah.
Well, I was in my little slot, and all I kept hearing was this dude all fucking morning, I got shot in the ass. I got shot in the ass. And bro, I was like, man, shut the fuck up, bro. All he kept screaming was, I got shot in the ass. So it was just, bro, it was crazy. But they had the cops, I guess, I don't know if it was, I mean, there was some type of military. I don't know if it was like National Guard or something like that. But when I was getting ready to leave the hospital, they weren't letting nobody come into the vicinity of the hospital. Like, I don't remember exactly where they had everything barricaded off, but I know in order to come in there to get me, there was some members that came and got me. They had to be approved by whoever was at the front of the parking lot, the hospital, and cops, and some, I don't know if it was National Guard. The dude was in camouflage, so he was some kind of military something. They literally escorted me in a wheelchair to the front of the hospital, and they were out there with machine guns, and they let this truck of members pull up. They let me in the fucking truck, and they got me out of there.
They didn't arrest you?
No, they questioned me, and they took my ID and they screenshot. They let everybody go.
What the fuck?
Everybody, because they couldn't hold anybody legally.
Too much. They didn't know.
So and the crazy thing is this is what I found out afterwards. See, I went to the
shooting, blowing up each other's guns in casinos.
Yeah, but they didn't have they didn't have no evidence to say, okay, this is what you're arrested for on every individual. So what they did is as they arrested everybody. Yeah. I mean, don't get it confused. That night when I went to the hospital, everybody that didn't go to the hospital or end up dead got arrested, and they all went to some I want to say it was like some kind of Elks Lodge place. It wasn't a police station, I know that, but they made a place like specifically to process everybody. So all they did was take pictures of their IDs, take pictures of them, get their information, and they let everybody go at the same time.
Like that.
And it was Mongols.
Another fucking shootout could have happened.
Yeah, and it was, and here's
they
the
might have
crazy
wanted
part.
another shootout. That's
Bro,
crazy.
Mongols and Hell's Angels were at the same place, being released at the same time.
You think they were trying to get another fucking?
I mean, bro, they didn't care.
I can't believe they released it after that.
Yeah,
that was like the biggest news story.
Yeah.
Like in casinos, fucking on camera.
Yeah,
shooting
they didn't care.
out.
The guys, I had talked to some of the guys. They weren't in the club. They were friends of mine, but they were talking to me afterwards about their ride home because everybody rode there, or at least our friends from the Bay Area rode all the way to Laughlin. So they said, like, on the way home on the freeway, it was like some Mad Max shit, bro. Like nobody knew what cars were pulling up. People were scared to pull in the parking lot. There was dudes that took support stickers off their bikes on both clubs because they didn't want to be affiliated and caught up for shit. I was making jokes. I was making jokes, and when somebody sees this, they're gonna know exactly who I'm talking about. I was making jokes, and it is, bro. In a situation like that, bro, I mean, it's life or death, bro. But I was making jokes because somebody that I know took their support sticker off their bike, and we found out about it. People were kind of butthurt.
Well, that's kind of like a bitch move, right? Isn't it kind of? I understand being scared, but it's also like, don't you kind of?
I mean, but there was a lot to it. There was the cops. There was the cops. There was the So I get it. I get it. I know the person very well. So, and again, he's going to laugh because I'm going to forward him this YouTube video when we're done. But I made jokes with him about the next support sticker we give him. I'm going to make sure it's Velcro so he can put it on and off. Yeah, so that was a big joke. But like I said, it was.
That makes sense. It
was serious.
There's the cops. There's the shootings. Like, why get shot for no fucking reason?
Yeah, exactly. And people, it was just like running a gauntlet on the way home. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
shoot you, pull you off.
I mean, there was a member that we found out. We didn't know that night, but we found out the next day that there was a member that was actually on his way to Laughlin by himself. And here's the sad part, man, is the only reason why he didn't come to Laughlin with his guys in a group is because it was his kid's birthday. I don't know if it was his kid's 1-year birthday or maybe 2-year birthday, but he literally stayed home for his kid's birthday, and where he was from,
he was a good
he
dude.
Was close. Yeah, he was a really good dude, man. And exactly, man. So he rode to Laughlin by himself, just thinking, hey, no big deal, I'll just pull up on the fellas then. But his bike was found on the side of the road, and here's the crazy part. His bike was found on the side of the road on the kickstand with his wallet on the seat, but he was found shot 7 or 8 times in a little gully by the side of the freeway. So
fucking to get a guy by himself like that.
People don't know whether it was the cops, whether it was another club. I mean, bro, at that point, this kind of shit that was going on, even with law enforcement, you really don't, you can't tell, bro.
Don't brag too much, but in that Waco shooting, the law enforcement killed most of the people. There was this massive, the news first blew it up like there was a biker fight, they all killed each other. I forget how many, maybe 15, 20 maybe, and it turned out the ATF killed most of them. I think you were probably in prison during that time or something.
Yeah, no, I remember the situation.
But it was, I don't need the time, but the cops have released a statement. We killed one or all of them.
Yeah.
Statement it said.
That's crazy. Yeah, and after what I've been through in my life and the things I've been and the situations I've been involved in, I know people don't want to hear this part, but and I'm not gonna say all law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? But, bro, there's a big fucking chunk of law enforcement that does shady shit for shady reasons, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they sit back and laugh at it because they're able to. You know what I'm saying?
They can be gangsters and get away with it.
Yeah. And I'll say this, and I mean, at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, my case is over. It's done. I went to trial. My part of it was dismissed because it's like, how are you going to charge this guy with something? I was fucking shot.
So you didn't go to that?
No, I went to trial over it.
Yeah, but you got off from that.
I got dismissed. Cool. I got dismissed. What happened was they indicted 42 people from my
Hell's
side,
Angels?
I guess you could.
Just from your side.
They weren't all Hell's Angels, but there was a handful of dudes that were citizens.
Still coming down with you that were just
friends and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it would have been like if you would have just pulled up and been hanging out with us at the bar.
No, exactly. I would have been like,
you would have been detained.
I'm not gonna run, you know?
You just never know. There's dudes that didn't even make it in the front door that got indicted. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, it's like at the end of the day, when you look at the whole case, and now, you know, especially after you get the CDs and you see the paperwork and other stories come out, like, you know, like I said, you know, in prison, you know, I read William Queen's book, I read that guy, J. Dot. It's like, you know, some of the shit they write is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I was in the club during the times they're writing this shit, and it's like, come on, bro, you're just trying to sell a book. But there is a lot of reality to the fact that they got to where they got to, and the shit that happened to get them there, bro, they had to do shady shit. You know what I'm saying? Which, I mean, you could look at it both ways, man. You could say, oh, they were infiltrating a criminal organization, or they were stirring the pot. I look at it as some of the shit that they were doing was stirring the pot worse than whatever pot they thought they were doing. They wanted something.
They're the ones causing the problem.
You know what I'm saying?
I 100% understand. Like I just had the Waco ones are the ones, the ATF, the ones that killed everyone.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to go back. We were talking about that shootout. Like, what's it feel like to be in a shootout? I've been in a lot of fights, I've had knives pulled on me, but like a full-on shootout, that's just like, is it kind of like the same, like things slow down a little bit like at a fight, or what's the...
Bro, it's funny you said that. Okay, so first of all, it's not the first time I've been in a shootout. Yeah. It's the first time I've been in a shootout of that scale. You know what I'm saying? I've been in, you know, in the city. I've been in a little neighborhood shit like that. But as far as like a full-on...
that's like, sounds like crazy. I've been crazy balls and shit.
That was definitely,
that's insane.
That was definitely, and that one was a little bit different because I've been involved in things in, you know, when I was youngster, and it was more like us and these guys, right? Yeah. But this thing, it was like you didn't know what was. It was people shooting over here, people dropping over there, shit getting stabbed over.
You don't know how many of your boys are getting killed, how many are getting shot. You don't know who's winning even.
It was such a high adrenaline situation, but it was such slow motion at the same time, bro. Right. Like literally, you gotta understand, this dude was shooting at me from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to where I went like this, and I lunged over there. I get shot, dude put this, and I'm sitting there. And at the time, it felt like an hour. But that shit literally happened in like less than a minute probably, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the funny thing is I don't remember exactly the seconds, but...
It's hard to remember the video. Like a fight, it's hard to remember those details.
Yeah, but I mean, I know this much. I know it was, I think the whole thing from start to finish was like 2 minutes and like 30-something seconds.
It's a long fucking time for a shootout.
It's a long time. It's a long time, but you got to understand, they document the 2 minutes and whatever seconds it was from like the very end to where they had everybody laid down. I mean, the shit kind of started dying down.
About a minute?
In about a minute. You know what I'm saying?
But that's a long, if you actually a minute and thinking fucking guns flying.
It was great. I mean, dude, I remember like when we were ducking and dodging and I was hitting people and things were going on, there was slot machines.
Who's dying,
Bro, there was slot machines blowing up right next to me. So it was a wild night, bro. Yeah. It was a wild night. You know, definitely one for the books.
You know, I'm glad I wasn't hanging out with you that day. I'm the kind of guy, I have my friends and shit. I'm like, fuck, I gotta fucking back him up.
Yeah, it was, and that's the camaraderie we had. That's what I was looking for, and that's what it was, bro. It's like, you know, you're not gonna leave your bros. You was part of something.
You know, obviously we have been shootouts, but even my crew, Nick, Nate.
Oh yeah, I see you guys. Yeah.
You know, we'll die for each other if we have to.
Absolutely.
But I know this guy's not gonna run. Whatever matter. 100 people come up. I know none of them are gonna run. It's nice having that honor.
Absolutely.
We won fights we should have lost because we would all stand and fight.
Even you know, it's like obviously this is the first time I've literally seen you face to face in like 15 years.
When shit pops off, you know I got your back to it.
But absolutely, bro, and that's likewise, and I think you know that. You know what I'm saying?
I know if someone comes up, you're not gonna. 10 dudes come up, you're not gonna run off.
No, hell no.
Even haven't seen it in years. I know we know the honor. We're standing by each other.
But it's funny because like even when I was locked up and we would see shit and stuff like that, and like you know you and Nick and Nate and shit would be at fights, and I'm in prison watching you guys, and it's funny because every time there'd be a confrontation, I'd see you be like, and I'll be like, oh, watch. I'm like waiting for something. I'm like, watch, these guys are going to get fucking in trouble fucking with these boys right now.
I love a lot of media things like, oh, he's the good guy because he's the white boy. I'm the fucking, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, man, and you know.
Mellow it out now and try to avoid, we both try to avoid trouble now, man. You realize how dumb it is and fucking.
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny, bro, because when you're young, you hear people talk the way we talk, and it's like, You know, but that's growing, that's maturing, that's knowing who you are. You know, when you're a kid, you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to be a part of something, and stuff like that. And that's why, like I said, man, you know, back to what we were saying at the beginning of the interview, as far as, you know, what I was looking for, and you found it in fighting. Had I found fighting or boxing or the sport at a younger age, it would have been, because the funny thing is, bro, is exactly what I've built, or what I was even a part of after I got shot, getting that much into the sport of boxing. It was like, it almost made me wonder, well, fuck, why didn't I do this fucking 20 fucking years ago? You know what I'm saying? Because, like you say, the camaraderie, the motherfucking, the blood, sweat, and tears is actually legal here.
You know, some of the brothers will still die with you. They have
absolutely,
to,
absolutely. And you know everybody is a fucking warrior.
Well, I'm gonna do a separate episode covering this gym. It's amazing, you know, that you built this gym out of Getty Prison, and it's really fucking hard to come out of prison and remember you telling me you wanted to do this, and you know, I thought you could do it, but I was also worried that it wouldn't happen, you know. And I think you did. I think you did have a setback. I think you did have a setback when you first got out, right? Did it?
Got wrapped up.
Did you get re-put back into fucking bullshit? And I was so bummed, man. I was really sad when you got, man. I was like really fucking like, fuck, man. Like J.P. I thought you were done after that. Like he's not gonna rebuild his life. So I'm fucking so happy to come here and see you.
I see that,
and I mean that, bro. I mean that, bro. It's like, you know, I always liked you. You know, I was like so bummed when you got put back in jail. And I'm like, God damn. Because once you got put back in, it's like it's usually the cycle at that point. I'm like, oh, it's institutionalized. So to come back and see you building this and you're happy and doing great, it's just. I said we're gonna film a separate segment after this for fucking with your trainers. So it's fucking awesome, man.
So back to fast forwarding on after getting shot in the Laughlin situation. Shortly after that, when we came back, you know, I literally
was popping off then, huh?
Well, I mean, it wasn't.
Or was it kind of like
It was a little standstill. You know what I'm saying? The funny thing,
because it was for both you guys a tough situation. I'm sure they're like, fuck, bro, we just got ourselves in a war too.
Well, I mean, you know, even that aside, you know what I'm saying, there was a lot of things that, you know, even in my club at the time, and you know, I'll touch on a little bit of stuff, but we're not gonna go too much deep into it. But you know, like I said, even like the prospecting thing, you know, there was dudes that literally were a prospect for like 30 days and they got their patches, and just because they were there, so that changed. So
because they were at the shootout.
So some people weren't happy about that, so they changed it to where you had to be a prospect up to like a minimum of a year and stuff like that. And I got my patch literally the following the next meeting we had. I got my patch because I think they figured, if I pulled up with a sling and a hole in my chest, okay, this guy ain't going nowhere. How you going to make him go out and watch the bikes after what he just been through? So I got my patch.
You got shot.
I got my patch at that time, and it was funny because we all kind of knew that there was going to be a court case pending. We just didn't know when. So you know, there was some time there where I think a lot of people were kind of living on the edge as far as like, what's going to happen, you know, at any point in time.
That was a big news event, so I'm surprised they didn't keep pressing you guys right there.
It took.
What year was the shooting?
The shooting was in 02.
Okay.
02, and I want to say we got raided a year later. The indictment went out. And they didn't indict me right away. And I think, and it's funny because I got my own opinion on that, whether I'm right or wrong, who knows. But, you know, the big thing that the government was trying to push is they were trying to say that the Hells Angels started this situation. And the government...
Why were they doing that, I think? Because I've been around the Mongols and they were always trying to pop off shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it don't even matter who started anything. I'm just talking about the government's point of view. And again, they're always putting too much on something to try to get their way in some things. And at the time, they were coming up with RICO charges and Vicar, which is like violence. Violence in the aid of racketeering type charges and stuff like that. So they really tried to push the fact that the Hells Angels started this situation. And my opinion, the reason why I probably didn't get added to the indictment in the first stretch, which was the majority of the people, is I got shot. And it's like, how do you prove in court that the Hells Angels were the aggressors
when you were shot,
when there's a dude that's clearly shot?
Really
so I think, so what happened was, and this is where one thing I'll say, and I'll say this to people, I'm sure there are going to be people butthurt that I'm doing podcast, and I really don't give a shit. It don't matter to me. This is my life. I done my time. I did my shit. But what I'm getting at is, one thing I'll say is, I'm proud to say that there was some solid motherfuckers that were involved in that situation, and everybody stuck to their guns. Nobody snitched. Everybody kept their mouth shut.
Methylene blue has been used for over 100 years for medical purposes and recently surged back into popularity. It has been shown to help repair brain tissue and improve memory, cognitive function, energy, and mood. Research suggests that methylene blue could have neuroprotective effects, possibly aiding in conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and depression. Go to MerakiMedicinal.com and use the promo code FIGHTBACK for a discount. Hey guys, Jake Shields here. If you want to support Fight Back Podcast, our brand new sponsor is Think Zinc. They're a company that supports free speech and they're opposed to genocide. This is a 7-1 formula with all the highest grade vitamins and minerals. It has magnesium, zinc, vitamin E, vitamin C, and house and MCT oils. This is great for elite athletes and the common person.
So the one thing that was surprising when the indictment went out is there was people that were part of the indictment that barely, first of all, there were some dudes that weren't even Hells Angels or even prospects. They were just friends.
They were just there.
They just were either in the area or with the group. They got hit with the same exact charges as everybody
RICO
else
charges,
did.
even though they
RICO,
weren't
Vicar, all kinds of. So you got to understand.
They weren't even in the gang and they hit with RICO.
Yeah, and you got to understand, and I know this because later on when I finally got indicted, I mean, we were looking at like 150 fucking years.
Oh, they were trying to put you guys away for life.
Oh yeah. So what they did is shortly after the DA that was on the case, they tried to give everybody deals.
They tried to put a snitch
well,
over your
and exactly. I mean, that's the route that they were
doing. That's snitch, because I'm sure they're probably, you know how they do.
So what they did was
roll over and you won't get time.
Yeah. So what they did is they hit everybody up with a so-called deal, but the deal was ranging anywhere from like 10 to like 25 years. So I mean, first of all,
doesn't sound that good of a deal.
Yeah. First of all, at the time, the club wasn't pleading to no RICO cases or nothing like that. So it was like, no, fuck you, we're not taking these charges. But there was dudes that had nothing to do with the club. They were just, and they're looking at 25 fucking years for walking in the front door. So I will give some props to them dudes because they trusted the lawyers, they trusted the process, they held their fucking nuts and didn't do no weird shit. So what happened is because we didn't accept, or should I say, they didn't accept the deals at the time, then they threatened us with, well, if you don't accept the deals, we're gonna hit you with a superseded indictment. Which all that did was just added more people, which I was one of the people that they added. But at the time, even me being indicted during that thing, I was like, okay, that's good news. And it's kind of weird to say that looking at 150 years, but the thing is this is the way I looked at it, and I even said it to my club at the time, because you really can't take the stand and defend yourself even when the government is saying you're the aggressor. Yeah. You can't get up there and say, we were scared. You can't get up there and say, we did this because of this. You can't do that. But there was only one individual in the final end of all the indictments that went out that could have took that stand, which didn't, because it didn't go that far. But there's only one person in that whole indictment that could have took that stand and made statements without being a rat in the sense of what happened to the individual and kind of killing the fact that we were the aggressors, or we were the ones that started it, or we were the only ones that did anything, and that would have been me. And the reason why is because I was there, I was a Hells Angel prospect, and I got shot. Okay, who shot you? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, was it this person? I mean, I could have went up there and I could have said this, and that, and I would have never been a rat. I would have just got up there and testified to what happened to me that evening. So then in turn, our lawyers could have said, so how are they the aggressors when people are getting shot on this side as well? But what I'm getting at is it never went there. It never went there because during the trial, and this is something that happened while I was out on bond. So I got out on bond on the Laughlin case. Okay. So while I was out on bond is when I decided to turn pro and start boxing, and really because it was just like, I knew that I was fighting something, and I was like, man, I want to do something. But yeah, I was just focused on the boxing. So I was doing the boxing thing, and I got indicted on another case, which was the drug case. And I ended up, it was drug trafficking, and they got me on that. So I was fighting the Laughlin trial, and I was fighting a total separate drug case.
A lot of years.
So I was looking at 100 and something years on both cases, man. So I was in there. I didn't give a fuck, bro. At the time, I mean, I sit back and I look at how I was mentally, bro. I was a dangerous person. I didn't give a fuck. And it was like, I mean, it didn't matter where I was, bro.
That's when you're more dangerous when you're facing 150 years.
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck, bro. So during that time, I was actually in 850 Bryant while the Laughlin trial was going on, and that's what I'm getting to. So what happened is the DA that was in control of that Laughlin case, they were doing stuff like trying to shut the club down in the sense that they were bringing up stuff that had nothing to do with the Laughlin trial. So finally the judge, and it was funny because my dad used to tell me, he used to watch everything on the computer, and I would call him and he'd be like, and it was funny because one day, I think the judge's name was Moynihan or something like that, and one day I called him, my dad's like, bro, he's like, is this fucking judge a Hell's Angel? And I was like, why do you say that? And he's like, bro, he's clowning the DA, but it wasn't like he was favoring anything.
He was being honest.
He was being honest, and he was sticking to what was right and what was wrong, and the DA was putting people on the stand that were rats from the club, from shit that had nothing to do with Laughlin. So finally, one day, he came into court and the DA was doing the same bullshit. He said, check it out. If you don't come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with something that has to do with the Laughlin trial, I'm dismissing the case.
Wow.
So what happened is I forget exactly how, I don't know if they did it that day or if they did it the next morning, but what happened is the DA and the lawyers got together with the judge and they're like, look, give us a second. We're going to offer these guys better deals and we'll go from there. So they came back, and instead of trying to give 40 fucking something people life sentences, they came back and they charged, I believe it was 6 or 7 total guys, and they gave them decent charges with decent time according to what they feel was committed on video or whatever, because it's like
trying to put guys that aren't even in the fucking Hells Angels away for 150 years. Guys that just stood by your back when the shit broke out.
They were doing too much.
I think it's kind of weird. Like I don't know that much about it, but to me, the few times I've been around the Mongols, they seem really fucking aggressive. It would seem like to me, it seemed like they were out causing problems. Like, I don't know. I just seem like they're the one gang that I've been around where I've seen them stabbing people and shit. Maybe there's a reason for it that I didn't know about. But it's like to me, they seem really aggressive.
One thing, and I'll use our fighting background as an example is, you know, I guess you could say my club and the history and the extent of the lifespan of my club compared to the Mongols, it's almost like. And I used to tell people this when we was in the club, when I was in the club and situations arose, it's kind of like when you're the champ,
you're a little more.
People are training for you.
Yeah, they're gunning for you.
You see what I'm saying? You when you're the champ, people are training for you.
So they're looking at you.
So they're doing what they and here's the thing is sometimes the champ gets comfortable being the champ. So I think there was a lot of situations that was like that. Like it's like, okay, we're the champ.
You get a little too comfortable.
But you got
the
these other guys that are fucking training for us, man. You know what I'm saying? So it was that kind of situation. I guess
they would recruit like a bunch of like Mexican gangsters, I think, right?
Well, like, you know, and again, I'll touch a little bit on that without going too much into the guy Doc Cavasso. He was a book smart guy. He was very manipulative. He was very outspoken. He used the media and videos and documentaries and A&E things to push something out there that part of it was his little way to recruit more people in his area, which got him in trouble with other organizations, and I'll leave that alone. But at the same time, some of the shit that he was putting out there, and I'll say, even though I'm not in the club, I'm still going to put shit out there that was incorrect, is one thing that he pushed was the fact that, oh, the Hells Angels are racist and they don't like Mexicans. So what he was doing in Southern California,
start a race war that was
exactly. So what he was
exactly, right, but it's not like racist.
I mean, bro, we got just as many Mexicans in the club at the time. Yeah, there's Mexicans, there's Filipino, there's Chinese. You know what I'm saying? There's everything except for black. Nowadays, I don't know if they've even went that far, but you know, and that all came down to California politics. What was able to wiggle around, but what Doc was doing is he was trying to push this card saying that, oh, the reason why we got to be Mexican Mongols is because the Hells Angels don't like Mexicans, which was not true.
They were just he was trying to put a fake.
I mean, you know, there's several members. There's some that have passed away that I still got mad love and respect. That, you know, we're Chicanos from East LA, and it was just false advertisement. But I will say this, Doc was a smart motherfucker in the sense of using the media to get people thinking a certain way. And even when I was locked up, one thing that I did, which people that never went to prison don't understand, is one thing that I did, because I was always a white boy from California that ran white boy California politics.
Yeah.
The bikers had a different kind of thing, but I always stayed with the white boy, because even before I was in the club, I was still a white boy from California from prison. So that never changed. And it's funny because, listen to this, some of this I think is what drew me apart from some people and what I had to do because of what I was raised on when I was incarcerated, is I stayed an active white boy, to where motorcycle or bikers or motorcycle clubs in prison, they, even though you could be a Mongol, you could be a Vago, you could be a Hell's Angel, you could be whatever the fuck, in prison, you hang out together.
Yeah.
Because you're bikers. Even though people are killing each other.
They would still hang out with the mixed race of the same biker gang. Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in prison.
How do people handle that?
That was something, and I'll give you a quick little fucking rundown on why that was created, is because way back in the days, now there's fucking federal prisons everywhere, right? But way back in the days, there was only like 2 or 3 federal prisons in the United States. And I'm literally talking like maybe 50 years ago, you know what I'm saying? You know, there was a couple on the East Coast and there was a couple on the West Coast. So the thing is what the feds like to do is they like to send Hell's Angels from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, and outlaws and fucking pagans all the way to, so it was one of those situations where they were getting our guys and we were getting their guys, so it was kind of like, okay, what do? Do we kill these guys, or do we let these guys be cool so they let our... So there was kind of like a...
So they're figuring out, are we going to work together?
There was kind of neutral fucking ground thing that went on in the prison system.
They decided to work
together. The difference with me is prior to me being in the club, I was a convict. I was a level 4 convict. I was from California. I went to some of the hardest prisons in California. I was in Pelican Bay. You're not going to tell me anything different other than how my program is supposed to run, biker or not. You know what I'm saying? So again, you know, some people might have frowned on the fact that when I ran into Doc Cavazos, I literally flipped the prison upside down.
You were supposed to not fight him.
I got shot, bro. There's no fucking way I'm doing time with a Mongol.
Yeah, I know.
I don't give a fuck if it's biker rules or not. You're not going to tell me I got to be cool with this dude. And second of all, what's that?
That caused a lot of drama with the bikers when you did that?
I mean, that situation, not so much, because Doc was a rat, but there was a lot to that because, like I said, I mean, bro, we could talk hours on so many different avenues.
We're gonna have to do another podcast.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But there's so much I want to ask.
But real quick, like Doc should have never been walking the yard I was at because he was a rat. He was a government informant. But the place I was at was kind of ran loosely, and the dudes that allowed him to walk were kind of taxing him in a sense. He was paying them, and they were doing like poker tickets, so they were actually using him to make money. So when I got there, I kind of rained on their parade because they wanted him to be there. And I was like, this dude ain't staying here. So at the time, I got into a big ass beef with the Southsiders at the time over it. But what I was getting at, rewind a little bit, one thing that I tried to do throughout my whole time being in prison, which people in my old club don't even understand this part because they've never been nowhere, they don't understand real prison politics, is I did my best everywhere I was to flip the stereotype that Doc Cavazos had pushed on all these documentaries that Hell's Angels got problems with Mexicans, because we don't. And you got to understand how dangerous that was at some point in time. And even though I'm not in the club anymore, I can say this with no fucking doubt, was a big reason why a lot of that theory got dissolved in the prison system, because what happened to me and Doc and the Southsiders actually created a topic that got to the people that actually make the rules to them fucking guys. And the bottom line was, the Mongols were trying to be absorbed by the Southsiders in prison because they were Mexicans. And the only route that they had to go that route, because they should have never been allowed to do that in a sense, but the only reason they were able to do that is because they were pushing the line that, oh, the Hells Angels don't like Mexicans. But here's the flip side to that. As a white boy from California, we run the same politics as Southsiders in the prison yard. So white boys and Southsiders are friends in prison.
Yes, they work together.
We're together on the yards. I mean, we're separate, but we're together. You know what I'm saying? Those are our allies, right?
Like enemies, yeah. You have a separate crew, but they're not your
to
enemies.
me, I took it personally to hit a yard and have Southsiders even question me. It's like, bro, no, I'm a white boy from California, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I took it upon myself, and I think I did a very good fucking job of it, because I know dudes that was in prisons. Even another podcast I did with a friend of mine was in federal prison, and he had heard about shit that I was doing from other people. Even cops were talking about the riot that happened that I was in, because they seen the video footage.
Want that motherfucker in there.
Yeah, but it was like, they know that I changed the pace on the fact that Hells Angels don't like Mexicans, and there was a beef with the Southsiders, because Doc really did try to push the line, saying that, oh, well, they got to. So it kind of, there was some Southsiders that were kind of ignorant to the fact that they just thought, oh, we got a problem with Hells Angels. Yeah. No, you don't, bro.
Did you also roll with Aryan Brotherhood last time you were in? Or
what's that?
Were you hanging with Aryan Brotherhood
Well,
last time?
I mean, you know, that's a topic we won't go too deep in. But I got some love and respect, I guess you could say. You know what I'm saying? But
were you able to cross between a few different groups? Or you have to be very strict one group?
The best way I could answer that is, and people that know the yard, is I always was a white boy from California that stuck to white boy politic rules in prison. I never used, oh, I'm in a motorcycle club as an excuse to not participate in the reindeer games. I was always in the reindeer games. So yes, I was with active white boys doing active shit, and that's just the way I was raised, even before being in the motorcycle club.
Because you were hanging out like that before the gangs.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something, no one, club or no club, vote or no vote, can tell me that I can't be doing what I'm doing, because to me, at the end of the day, I was a white boy from California, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I ran it. You know?
I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think you had a minor falling out with Hells Angels, but you're still speaking about it respectfully. So,
well, I mean, I speak about it respectfully, bro, because my falling out with my charter was something that happened with me and my charter, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to be the bad mouth and crying on some podcast or whatever, nothing like that, because it ain't that. But I mean, the bottom line is, bro, and I'll say it like this. I said it earlier to one of the guys when we was talking. It was like, bro, I lived the typical rap song. And what I mean by the typical rap song is, you know, you don't realize what's real. You don't realize who your real friends are. You don't realize what you're a part of. And you really don't know who the fuck really got your back until you trip and fall and your face is in the mud.
When you were in prison, when you weren't J.P. anymore.
You see what I'm saying? So when I got stripped down,
mansion with Chuck Liddell walking you out.
Exactly. So when I got stripped down to nothing but my fucking boxers, bro, at that point I realized who my fucking real friends were, bro. And yeah, there was, you know, and another thing, and you know, I'm not gonna say it's an excuse for the people that fucked me over, but I will say I know how shit was even played even on the law enforcement side. You know, something, you know, some people that, again, I know everybody that watches your shit ain't all from prison, you know what I'm saying?
No,
so
I imagine the most aren't.
but I'm sure you'll probably get some viewers after they see this. But there's something that they call diesel therapy. And diesel therapy is something that the feds use when you're incarcerated, and it's normally used for high-profile inmates, people that are very active, people that have influence in their so-called organizations. And what they do is, it's diesel therapy. They keep you on buses, bro. Like, you'll hit a yard and you'll think you're getting comfortable, and they'll lock you up. Oh, yeah, they lock you up and they put you on a bus and they shoot. So you got to understand, bro, out of the fucking 13 and a half, close to 14 years I was gone, well, fuck, no, it was actually close to 14 and a half years, bro. Yeah, because I went back for some time. But the whole time I was gone in the feds, I spent more than 7 years in the SHU. So I would do like 6 months on a yard, and then I would be under investigation for 6 months, and then I would get shipped to another yard. So the point to that, well, I mean, and I'll say this, bro, I'm not going to bullshit you. I mean, I might have been involved in some things, but What I will say is there was other people that were involved in just as much, if not more, as what I was involved in, and they all didn't end up on a bus on diesel therapy.
Every time you walk into prison, you have to go in there and regain respect.
Every time.
Regain
every time. I went to 14 different prisons.
I mean, you're obviously capable of doing it, but fuck,
14 different prisons in 14 years, and the point behind diesel therapy is to detach you from any kind of communication with your family, with your people, with your organization. That kills influence, that kills any kind of, respect on the level of you still got some kind of pull or some kind of juice. I mean, you got to look at this, bro. I'm not even gonna say my age, I'm getting old, but I've been doing whatever I've been doing for X amount of time. But you gotta remember this, the feds have been doing this for how old is the feds? We gotta Google that, I don't know. But definitely about 100 fucking years, bro. So they've taken every scenario and perfected it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
they know how to fuck it.
They know, they know, and I mean,
keep getting too connected here. We're gonna move.
Yeah,
here,
and I'll say this.
That fucks up your outside connections probably too.
And for people that don't understand the cause, what diesel therapy could cause, is imagine being someone that has influence, and all of a sudden you're put in a box that nobody can communicate to. Okay, well then you're gonna realize how many of these guys are really your solid friends, for one. That's the first thing, okay? So as some of them friends kind of fade away, then you're gonna end up with the haters. You're gonna find out which ones were the real fucking haters. And then you're gonna have people starting to, I guess you could say it kind of creates a vacuum power struggle in a sense. And there's a little bit of that. And then there's just the simple fact that some people don't even want you to come back home because now they're taking your got to shine. They're doing this and they're doing that. And then all of a sudden you're released and it's like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah, you don't have your power anymore.
You know what I'm saying? So
you felt a little betrayed. We don't need to get into too much detail. Basically felt a little betrayed.
So like I said, a rap song. I mean, you don't know how many rap songs I listen to and I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's it, bro. You really do find out what's real when you trip and fall.
Not a lot of people got your back, you know. I know I have a handful.
Bro, you're one person that, I mean, like I said, we weren't the best of friends. We had, you know what I'm saying, friendship. But bro, the way you wrote that letter, bro, I was just like, and I'll tell you this, I was honored that you wrote that letter, but at the same time, it depressed me.
Yeah, you usually don't write for anyone, too.
And I'm
going to
respected you, and I'm going to tell you why it depressed me, bro, because that was just one of many things, is when I got busted and I knew I was going away, not even the Laughlin trial, because the Laughlin trial, I didn't have convinced that I'm gone, you know what I'm saying? But when I caught the drug case, I was like, okay, there's no way I'm beating 2 fucking Fed cases, you know what I'm saying? So when I realized who the real people were in my life, and I realized even like that 1 year that I got out,
some of the fighters are the ones that had you back, you probably realized.
Bro, and it's like, and what I even accomplished, bro, when I set my mind to something, the boxing.
You're becoming such a great boxer.
Come on, bro, second pro fight at the Playboy Mansion on ESPN, 508 punches in fucking 4 rounds. I mean, it was just.
I think I showed you the Shark Tank, and it was just like packed full of people, because like everyone coming through was like, wow, bro. We used to, where did we spar at? It was like a little private gym, right?
Your place in Berkeley.
Yeah, there. You had a little private gym too. I think we went to sometimes.
Yeah. You came to the clubhouse a couple times.
Was that at the clubhouse, that boxing ring? It was, right?
Yeah, when I built up there.
We had a little private thing. You built a gym at the fucking boxing ring right there. That was fucking. No, is that you wish like fuck? Wish I'd have done this earlier instead of that.
It's like, and it's funny because people always ask me, man. When I was locked up, even they're like, bro, you were fighting a fucking Fed case and you were doing this, and I was like, well, you got choices, bro.
You had that case so crazy. That was the same time we were hanging out, huh?
Yeah. So it's like, I tell them, like, what would you rather do? Would you rather spend your fucking time
crying at home
in a bar crying, you know what I'm saying, crying to your old lady, or doing something?
Playboy Mansion.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, I really, when I caught them cases, bro, I felt bad in the sense that I felt like I let people down that cared about me. So I tried to do with the best of my ability something that would make them proud of me even before I went away. And bro, here's a part that, people don't know. I mean, I don't even know if you know, but my dad was one of the first people that died of COVID in San Rafael 90 days before I was being released. You know what I'm saying? So, what I did during my boxing career, as short as it was, but as fucking eventful as it was, my dad was right there front and center. So to me, out of everything, like I could look back and go, damn, man, I wasted a lot of shit getting in trouble. I did this, I did this. But at the same time, if I wasn't put in the predicament that I was put in, if I didn't put as much effort into boxing as I did, I wouldn't have had those memorable, very, very prideful moments with my dad that is no one can ever take away. And I never see him again.
I got to, I got to fight with my dad and make him proud, and I'm so glad I did before he passed away. You know, fighting these big titles, it made us so close.
I bet.
Some of us weren't as close when I was young because I was, you know, I was a pretty bad kid, and my dad had a bad injury in the time. I'm like, oh, why is my dad so mean? I was running off, not listening, getting in fights. So thankfully my fighting pulled us back and became really, really close before he passed away. So I fucking understand what you're saying. Getting to see your father doing something fucking proud instead of always getting in trouble, getting arrested, doing dumbass shit. So
you know, and then it was like, you know, and then you know, I was out on bail. So when I actually got sentenced, here's the crazy part: when I got sentenced, the judge even gave me a little extra time. The DA, the minute I got sentenced,
the judge kind of liked you.
The DA, dude, he did. It was crazy, bro. And the DA was like, okay, he's got 10 years. They wanted to redo. There was marshals in the courtroom the day I got sentenced, waiting to take me in right there.
They usually don't let you out with a 10-year sentence.
They don't. That's the crazy part. But the fucking judge, the judge was like, you know, we had requested like an extra, I forget what it was, 60 or 90 days to self-surrender because I had the ability to fight one more time. We said, you know, I want to pay bills, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, okay, cool. So, bro, when I fought at the Playboy Mansion, I was already sentenced, bro. I was already going away for 10 years.
Do you think about skipping the country?
I mean, you know, yeah, jokingly, yes, bro. I was like, I'm out of here.
It would be harder to rebuild.
But then,
like
dude, listen, if it was a 25-year sentence, you would have never seen me again. But it's like 10 years, bro. You know, it's like, you know, 10 years, if I would have done it nicely, I could have probably been home in 7.
But you were kept
I turned 10 years into fucking 15 years, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, you know, and even, you know, that's a whole nother topic, bro, you know, because, like, the time that I caught afterwards was, like, some shady-ass shit, you know what I'm saying?
Someone betrayed you, right?
Yeah, some shady shit, man. It was some lies, some bullshit, and you know, there was even people that you know, I had some love and respect for that was part of allowing what happened. It just, you know, I'm not even gonna get into that, man. I heard a little
whispering of a bit of shit on my talk. Yeah,
it was uncalled for, bro. It was some hater ass shit, and you know, there was even somebody that I did time for, bro. That was part of fucking helping me go back on that situation, bro. And that's some clown ass shit, but whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I walk with my motherfucking head up, bro. And if people think they can walk with their head up after some of the shit they done, well, I don't know, bro. I guess our morals and values were never the same to begin with.
I couldn't imagine if someone did 10 years for me and just to fucking do something at all. I would be picking that motherfucker, giving him money when he gets out.
That's all there is to it, bro.
I couldn't imagine.
That's all there is to it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, morals and values vary amongst individuals, and you don't know how deep shit runs with people until people are put in situations. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, everybody's a tough guy. Shit, look at that shit now. With social media, everybody's a gangster. You know what I'm saying? But take the phone away. You know what I'm saying? That narrows it down. Now, even with the real ones that you thought was real, narrow that down by putting people, by putting people in situations or disappear for a while. Do a bunch of shit solidly with good intent for people and disappear for 5-6 years.
You realize how people don't have your back. Yeah, so I thought you were in jail for the Laughlin shooting. What exactly was your case? I knew you had drug trafficking charges too. Like what kind of numbers were they hitting you with? What kind of drugs?
So the Laughlin trial, like I said, I was part of the Laughlin trial, but the funny thing is I never even made it to trial because they broke it into groups. So the first group, we all kind of knew that this is kind of make or break the whole situation, and we made it type shit. I mean, yeah, some dudes got some time, but I mean, it was the way it should have went.
No, I'm surprised more guys didn't get crazy time. That was a big deal.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, man, I mean, they made, yes, there was news reels, yes, there was this, but at the end of the day, bro, it was no different than any fucking bar fight.
Yeah.
Or a UFC fight in the stands.
Other people getting shot.
It just happens that we had patches and there was a motorcycle club and all that stuff. So I technically beat the Laughlin trial. That allowed me to get back out on bail for the drug case that I had caught. So the case that ended up actually putting me away, and we ended up, what happened was we all ended up pleading out to drug charges, which it was, the case started with,
kind of a compromise.
It was money laundering, RICO charges, you know, drug sales, methamphetamines, this, that, whatever. So at the end of the day, when we decided to plea out, we pled out to 10-year sentences for my actual charge, excuse me, that I pled out to was 10 years for a pound of meth is what it was. You know, with the feds are weird, man, and I learned this being involved with them. It's not like the state to where you could get a charge and the judge could kind of sentence you however he feels if you're a nice guy or fucking up. The feds, they have to actually give you a charge that fits the amount of time that goes with that. So you can't, the feds don't play with the time. There's mandatory minimums and then there's upward departures. The only way there's a downward departure is if you're a fucking rat. You know what I'm saying?
10 years for a pound's insane. I'm sure there's other shit involved, but fuck, bro, that's...
Yeah, pound of meth.
That's I mean, obviously meth's a tough drug, but a pound's not that insane of amount. Holy shit.
Pound of meth, man. And you know, it's funny, man, because as much, like you say, oh, fuck, 10 years. But I'll tell you, bro, you know, it's like going through the system and seeing other people's cases and stuff like that. You know, there was some people in there. I mean, dude, there's some states that are like zero tolerance. And, you know, even though there's mandatory minimums, judges could give you more time. They just can't give you less time. And I thought I got fucked until I got to the first prison I was at in Big Spring, Texas, and I met a couple other white boys that fucking had got some time from Texas and stuff like that. And I'll never forget, there was the one dude, man, and he had 18 years. And I was like, man, how much you get busted with? He literally got busted with like an 8-ball of meth, but he had got busted stealing pills from like CVS's and Walgreens and making it, so he got a manufacturing charge.
Damn.
So the manufacturing charge is.
Oh, he was just stealing pills, not even prescription pills, pills to make the stuff.
He was doing it to get high. The dude was a dope fiend.
Yeah, and 8-ball is just personal fucking.
So as much as time as I got, but also the way I was living and what I guess you could say got away with during my drug dealing days. You know, there was other cases where I was like, fuck, I got lucky, man.
I think they must have really wanted you too, because that seems crazy, fucking 10 years for a pound.
The thing is with my case too, man, is my lawyer even told me that, you know, we probably could have took my part to trial and beat it, but they didn't want, we filed like 2 or 3 severances, which means that I tried to be detached from the case with the other people that I was on trial with.
Oh, so they couldn't pull you all in one case.
So I could fight my own case. But the thing is there was other people that had more incriminating evidence against them, to where if I would have said, no, I'm going to trial, and they didn't sever me, I would have dragged them to trial,
fucked your whole crew.
and they would have got time.
So you actually helped some of your boys not get more time.
It was either take the 10 years
you all
with
take
them,
the deal together,
or go to trial, and whether I would have won or not, these guys would have gotten mandatory.
So you did a lot of fucking honor for something. So I see why a betrayal could be could really we won't talk about that.
Yeah,
Let's say one last subject and we'll end on a positive note. Like, do a lot of these different biker gangs work together, or wars, or
say that again?
Do a lot of these different biker gangs work together, or a lot of enemies?
I mean, you know, the thing is with the clubs is you got predominant clubs in certain areas. So the smaller clubs in those areas are kind of like on a respect trip with the predominant club in that area. They call them support clubs, or, you know, I mean, you know, and I mean, it's just, you know, are they as vicious and I mean, you know, I can't even say the clubs are vicious as they was back in the days. That the aura and the reputation is still carried. But I mean, you know, just like everything, bro, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, I'm just saying it in a reality way. A lot of things have changed, and not just for the motorcycle clubs, the gangs, the fucking cliques, whatever you want to call them. And I even seen that going through the system. You know, it's like, you know, as much as I was hurt and was going through shit when my club pulled, and you know, when my club voted me out, man, they voted me out in a fucking email on a federal website. So that's,
damn, man.
That's a whole
after you didn't pull out of that case
episode.
And
but
by an email.
What I'm getting at is I went through a lot because of how much I gave a fuck, how much I know I put out there, and you know, the things I did for a lot of people, bro, I felt, bro, I mean, betrayal ain't even a deep enough word for what I went through when what was pulled on me was pulled on me. But I will say this, when I went from the feds to the state to finish my time in the state at the end of my sentence, it was almost like therapy, bro. And it's kind of crazy to say that about going to prison, is going into the state system in California. Like the feds, bro, politics were so crazy because I'm a white boy from California. We run our California on the East Coast. It's almost like they're fucking scared of us because we run a little bit harder politics. But when I came back to the state system and actually hit a state yard, it was almost like therapy in the sense, because you got to understand at this point on this yard, it's 15 years later, maybe 20 years later since I originally was in the system. When I was used to doing time, when fuckers were dropping dead left and right in there. But when you go back in the system years later and you see, and again, like I said, bro, it's everything, bro, from the Norteños, the Sureños, the blacks, the whites, you know, and again, man, you know, I'm sure some people will take it disrespectful. Some people are going to understand what I'm saying because they get it. You know, the fact is shit ain't the same no more, bro. You know, it's way too easy for people to tell now.
Too many snitches.
More than half the prison population is fucking PC'd up, you know what I'm saying? So you got people that are snitching and people are still hanging out with the people and it's
like you said, that one guy was a snitch and their boys still wanted to hang out with him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's because it was at a low, you know, eventually I ended up working my way up to medium highs and stuff, but it's like, you know, there's levels to this shit just like anything, but yeah, exactly, you know what I'm saying? You got people in the system that just ain't as gangster as it used to be, bro. So at the end of the day, I kind of, you know, it also fuels where I'm at today and what I do with some of my youngsters that come around. It's like, and I know that they listen to me a little bit differently because it's not like I'm some former fucking dropout rat that's trying to tell them, hey, bro, it ain't the same. No, man, I was a very, very fucking serious individual, and honestly, I can say I'm fucking probably very, very lucky to still be sitting here free and alive.
No, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I got a background that I could show you. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk to some of these youngsters that I'm trying to steer in a different direction,
they can respect you. These young gangbangers, they can respect you because they know you've been through it, and they be like, man, maybe you don't want to go down the route I did, especially with the guys who don't have honor. They don't have the same honor they used to.
It's like, it's almost like motherfuckers are blinded until you point certain things out because at this point, bro, it's just, like I said, bro, the social media era is fucking ridiculous.
Everyone
bro.
Trying to show off what they're doing, showing off the clout.
And it's like, you know, people, we could spend a whole nother podcast on
I think
people are posting shit, they're acting like this, they're acting like that, and it's just...
then they get shot. Trying to act like a gangbanger, trying to act like a gangster when you're not. Like, you never act like a gangster. You know? I only knew people with, oh, JP is the sergeant at arms. You were never like, oh, I'm like the head. You know, I saw people track you. You never once told me you were a gangbanger. Never once told me I'm a hard motherfucker. You never once told me you shot people in Laughlin. You never told me any of this stuff, and I didn't pry. But I could just tell. I'm not stupid. I could tell who the hard fucking people are. You know.
And I'm not trying to say this to be like, but at the same time, bro, when you know, I mean, look at you, bro. When you know what you're capable of.
I don't need to run around starting shit. You know, you don't need to. You get confidence, and that's actually I stopped getting a lot of fights once I started training professional fighting because I'm like, oh, I don't need to anymore.
Same, dude.
So I think if you would have found boxing earlier, bro, I think you would have fucking ended up going a different path. That's why I said that early.
The biggest thing I'll say about once I took boxing serious and I actually started getting good at it, the one thing that I could say changed visibly on me. When I was younger, I used to always carry a pocket knife. Always. When I started getting good on boxing, you know, I would put on my boots, I put on my, you know, and I would clip my pocket knife. As I started getting good with my hands, I started noticing that pocket knife would stay on the dresser. But that's it. As small as that is, it definitely is a difference, bro. And the same goes with, you know, these dudes that is trying to act like they're gangster, bro. If you're out there pumping all this bullshit out on social medias or acting, look, bro, that's clown.
Well, so many motherfuckers get killed too. These rappers and stuff acting all tough, and they get shot. It's like they go and cross a real fucking gangster. They don't try to be a fucking gangster.
And that's it, bro.
And like I said, the real I don't know. All the real gangsters I've known have always been fucking nice dudes, not out starting shit. Let's end this on a positive note. Absolutely, you know, we're gonna do a little filming in your gym after. Like you said, you came out. you got thrown back in. I was fucking bummed. And then now you came out and then you told me, oh, I'm going to build a gym. And now I come here and you fucking built it, man. Because I'm like, oh, man, is you really going to build it? But it's fucking hard. People don't understand. You've been put away for that long. Your whole life's been taken away. To come out and rebuild, that's really tough.
And again, bro, I know I told you off camera, but I'm going to tell you on camera, bro. It's a fucking... Bro, you ain't no fucking chump-ass motherfucker, bro. You fucking Jake Shields,
Hell
bro.
yeah, man.
So it's an honor to me, bro, for one, that you were as excited as you were to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Two, the words that have come, because I know you ain't no fake motherfucker.
No, I'm not a fake
The
motherfucker.
words
You
that
know,
come
I've
out
always
your mouth,
respected you.
I know are legit.
I'm not
I
a
can see it in your
I'm not a
fucking eyes,
I'm not a fucking liar. One thing I'm not, if I don't like someone, you're gonna fucking know I don't like them.
Bro. And I just want you to know, bro, it's an honor, bro.
No, I'm just really so proud of you, bro.
To feel that from you, bro. And you know, it's funny, bro, because, you know, I get messages from dudes that, you know, I still stay in communication with dudes that are locked up. I mean, there's dudes that I've got really tight bonds with that ain't never coming home. And it's crazy, bro, to get the letters or you know, now they got email systems that I get, you know, email, and it's just like, bro, you really did it. I
remember you telling me I'm gonna build a gym, Jay. I'm gonna build a gym when I get out. And I don't say I didn't believe you, but I was like, obviously, like to see you go and did it what you said you were gonna do.
And same with the people in prison, bro. They're like, so many prison stories.
They're saying this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that,
stories, bro. It's like, and
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this,
And like I said, bro, you know, I know you said we're gonna do like
filming on this after,
second part to this at some point. But you're gonna meet some of the dudes that I literally started training from the day I came home in my backyard, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No, because it's hard to build a gym because you probably didn't have any money put away when you were, and no one was helping you. It sounds like none of the guys had time for it, helping you.
Unfortunately, I will say this, bro, is the reason why I was able to do this is because, you know, my father and my grandmother both passed away, and they left me what they left me, bro, and I put everything into this, bro, to do what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, there was a lot of there's a lot to this, bro. This ain't just, you know, some little fucking thrown together. I mean, bro,
it's a nice
the
gym.
First of all, it took me like 3 fucking years even to find the place.
Yeah, it's fucking hard. It's hard starting a business, especially when you've been from the gang life is all you know, and then fucking, I gotta be a businessman.
And the minute I got the keys, bro, and I started down here, I mean, you know, I don't know, I'll try to give you some video. I don't know if you want to add it, you know, in the next thing you do for the gym, but when you see what this place looked like, bro, I was down here 12-hour days, but it's true what they say. If you love what you're doing, it's not work.
No, exactly.
Bro, I would come down here at 9, 8 in the morning sometimes.
You're so excited,
start working, and I would leave this motherfucker at 9 o'clock at night looking just like the people around the corner on 6th Street with fucking paint and fucking...
Yeah, because there's crackheads all outside.
Look, I was leaving there
no, it looks great.
At 9, 10 o'clock at night looking like a crackhead. I would come back. Dude, I built this gym in 71 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love the color, too.
71 days, bro.
Looks fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Do you have a lot of, like, normal, like, people, or is it all mostly fighters?
Well, you know, here's the thing. And again, I've only been here for a year and a few months. So far, since I've had it, I got 2 NorCal Golden Glove champs out of here.
Oh, wow.
We won NorCal, my bad, and the state. We won NorCal and the state. 1 guy and 1 female, my first female fighter. So the one thing about the gym, bro, and I'm going to stick to my guns on it, bro, is it's focused on fighters, bro.
Yeah.
You know, you got a lot of gyms that, and no disrespect
most
to
gyms
them,
don't focus on fighters.
but they're on fitness, bro. They use boxing as fitness. They got the 35-man boot camps.
That's 99%
like that.
of boxing gyms.
And that's great, but you're not going to learn how to compete like that. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, there's people here, and I tell people all the same spiel, which is kind of funny because I think it's what keeps my membership to a minimum. But I tell them, hey, look, you're welcome to this. You can come here for fitness, but when we got someone getting ready for a fight,
they're the priority.
All hands on deck for that person. And that's literally everybody in this gym. They're either helping with that person or they're staying out the fucking way. I mean,
it's like a family, bro. It's a family.
I'll still give them some direction and be like, hey, I want you to do this or here, do this. But they don't question me walking away and focus
on who has fights. Yeah, that's how you build champs.
I ain't sold them nothing that they ain't knowing that they're in for type thing. You know.
And other people at the gym can help new people learn too. That's once you become a coach. Once people you have good students, they can help the new people.
Absolutely, and that's exact. I got some of my students. Matter of fact, there's 2 of them that you're going to meet that are getting ready for their amateur debut next week in Concord. And you know, one of them works out fucking 2-3 times a day if the gym's fucking open.
Yeah, he'll just come.
But you know, in the morning I have him help with me. So I mean, there's hey, I'm not just building fighters, bro. I'm building future coaches.
Yeah, I have them help coaching. You know what I'm saying? Well, what's the name of your gym for people in San Francisco?
Abaddon Fight Club, bro.
Abaddon Fight Club.
Abaddon Fight Club, and there's a whole story to that too, which, you know, I'll give you the short end of it. I mean, you know, it's not that I'm a religious person, but I was doing a lot of reading and the name, you know, I was looking at like underground boxing. I was looking at, I just wanted something to get to the core of the sport, right? Well, it was funny because I wanted to trademark it because of, you know, things that have happened in the past with things that I kind of put on the map myself. But I wanted to trademark it, so Underground Boxing was actually trademarked.
Oh, damn.
And the day my stepdad wrote me, it was like, you need to pick a new name, this is trademarked. My homeboy on the tier, when I was in the can, gave me a book. He said, here, bro, you might like this book. And it was the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch, you know, as I was reading it, you know, they have a list of all the names of the fallen angels, right? That were cast out of hell or whatever. Now, don't get this wrong, because it's not an evil entity, but there was one name that was on the list of fallen angels, but it wasn't one that was cast out. It was one that was kind of given the keys and sent down with these. So then I started writing my
More
stepdad,
curious about that,
and I was like, hey, because you know, when you in there, bro, when you in the shoe, you lock down, you read. Dude, I've done so much studying, bro.
Not
when
much
I
else
was
to
locked
do.
Up. I mean, bro, it's ridiculous, bro. I got PhDs if I would have went to college with the shit I've read since to this day. But I started writing home, and I was like, hey, man, send me some shit on this Abaddon. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is with Abaddon, bro, is he's not necessarily a fallen angel, but he was cast down with all the angels that was falling down, and he was basically, I guess you could say, God's hitman in a sense.
Very relatable to you.
He was the one that was set down to kind of keep the devil and all these evil angels in check in a sense. And he's also the same entity that releases them after 1,000 years to wreak havoc on the earth. And he's also the entity that changed them back down and puts them into the abyss for the remainder of eternity, right? But there's also scripture saying that anyone who follows this entity will be, I guess, on judgment day. That's why we got the no mercy and the judgment and stuff like that. Will, you know, be granted, you know, their, you know, everlasting life and stuff like that. And you know, there's deep scripture on it, bro. But it was definitely and the other thing is the way, you know, because it also transliterates in other mythology type things, like, you know, like Apollo from Greek mythology. It's the same entity. You see what I'm saying? It's just in Hebrew and
different.
Arabic, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, and why I chose to call it Abaddon Fight Club and not Apollo Fight Club, is because Abaddon isn't just the name of the person, it's also the name of the place. Abaddon mean in Aramaic the place of destruction. So this means the place of destruction, but it's with the fucking, you know.
But yeah, but it's put on all bad. No, very, very appropriate.
Exactly, bro.
Fit you perfectly.
You know, being a fallen angel myself, I guess it kind of fit the fucking
fits perfect with you.
It did, bro. It did, and I ran with it, and I love it, and you know, we went with the three-headed dog because that's the gatekeeper of fucking hell. You know, everybody come in, but you can't get out type thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's the Greek mythology. I'm half Greek, half German. So yeah, bro, there's a lot of meaning to it, bro.
Hell yeah, man. I think we're gonna film some more after this on the gym. So people that want to watch that, I don't know, I'll probably release it a week or so after we do the interview. But fuck, thanks so much, man. That was excellent, brother.
Big time.
Cool.
Big time.